When I was a child, the only thing that would get me to sleep was my parents reading me the takeaway menu from our local Chinese restaurant, the Flying Chopstick.
David's team.
At what age was this?
I'd say it kicked off at 7 and probably lasted about a year.
Was it read out in any type of accent?
No. Well, my dad...
Would you say any type?
Any type.
There's one specific one. If they read it in a French accent, it'd be nice. This is quite surreal, isn't it? But I'll go with it.
My dad is half Polish, half Lithuanian, so it had a sort of Eastern European tinge.
Could you give us a kind of a little rendition?
So it'd be something along the lines of...
This will be interesting.
It'd be something...
We'll just separate ourselves from the person doing the routine.
You don't want to be in the clip when it comes on the news, do you?
So Dad would say, for example, black bean with chop suey, something like that. Black bean.
Was your dad the fella from Sesame Street? One pork balls. Two lovely pork balls.
You know, lychee for the end of the menu.
Lychee, that's
Yeah, I know that.
Lychees.
The Flying Chopstick, they just serve a single lychee, don't they?
Lychees. It was the staple. It was the 70s. Things were a little bit sparse then. It was Wilson's, you know, things are hard. I can't remember his speech, but you know the one I mean. Things are terrible.
Wilson's Things Are Hard.
Wilson's things are...
Harold Wilson, Things Are Hard.
We've only got lychees. Things are hard. We've only got lychees, guys.
How far into the menu would you drift off?
That's a very good question.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah. My eye would be sort of fully open, like that. A little bit like...
Just one eye open.
One eye open, always looking, always just checking. And then I would say, by the end of the first page, the eye would be down.
So you used to go to sleep
page.
half a face at a time?
Can you remember the first time that this happened?
It would have been... I think it was on a Friday night. Mum and Dad would have been entertaining, and I laughed a lot and then fell asleep.
So what do you think, then? David Hay, how is this striking you?
The detail, the fact that she knew straight away what day it was on a Friday night. I don't remember what day it was when you were 7.
Oh, I
can't
did.
remember last week. I get punched in the head for a living, but...
But, David, they did it a lot. They did it a lot.
Repetition, eh?
Repetition, so I knew the menu back to front, because they had to do it so
Well,
often.
that's just Chinese. It would be that way, no, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Romesh, what are you thinking?
I think it... I don't buy it.
David, actually, I've got two Davids. We'll call you the Haymaker and the Librarian. What are you thinking, David?
Well, I think I don't believe it.
Do you realise... I like the system you've got there. We're going to call you the Haymaker and the Librarian. So what do you think, David?
I don't think she's at the age of 7.
Yeah.
I think a 7-year-old child will require a coherent story.
All right, so you're saying it's a lie. Well, let's find out. Mel, truth or lie?
The story was, in fact, a lie!
So please welcome this week's special guest, Sid. So, Chris Tarrant, what is Sid to you?
This is my dentist, Sid, and I had to drive her to A&E after biting her finger during a checkup.
Right, Mel, could you explain how you know Sid?
This is Sid. We once posed as members of an orchestra to gain backstage access to meet our idol.
Finally, David, what is your relationship with Sid?
This is Sid. Last year...
Sorry. There's something about you. I don't think you know any women or anyone called Sid.
In which case you'll be saying that it's a lie.
Correct.
This is Sid.
Lie.
This is Sid. Last year, she rescued me when a seaside donkey went haywire with me on its back.
Can I say, I retract my earlier comment, true.
So, there we have it. Chris's disgruntled dentist, Mel's orchestral imposter, or David's seaside saviour. Lee, where do you want to start?
Well, shall we start? Let's start with Chris. What was she doing that made you bite down so hard?
She's actually a very accomplished dentist. Her real name is Sydney Matthews. She is the junior partner in a company called Matthews and Priddy in Weybridge in Surrey.
Whoa.
Who are
Sorry,
top
her real name is
dentists.
Sydney.
Sydney.
Sydney, girl's name Sydney.
I couldn't understand what he was saying, but now someone shouted it really loudly in Welsh. It's a lot clearer. so, sorry, Chris, say it again.
I fixed up to go and have a temporary crown taken out and put the proper one in.
Oh, yeah. Coronation, was it? You're getting above yourself, Tarrant.
So she starts doing this little bit of drilling, and of course you've got so much going in there. I'm going, it really hurts, I want to unattack it. And she's, what? At which point I bit her finger, in fact 2 fingers, really quite badly. And she is pouring blood.
And has Sid treated you since?
No, but she's due to in about 3 months, so I'm trying to be quite nice to her.
Right, do you want to move on to another suspect?
David, what did it do, the donkey?
It ran suddenly in one direction with me on its back.
No.
Yes.
Where were you? I bet he says
was on
Blackpool.
No, I was on the beach. It was in Norfolk.
And a beach in Norfolk. Do you know which beach? I know Norfolk quite well. Which beach in Norfolk was it?
Oh, damn. It was Great Yarmouth.
When was this?
It was last year.
Do they let adults ride donkeys?
Good question. Ask him.
Yes, they do. They did. I got on the donkey, it went haywire.
What?
You saying I'm a liar? The donkey went haywire and Sid rescued me.
But what scared the donkey?
Yeah, I can answer that.
What scared...
You haven't explained why you were on the donkey. When I look at you, I don't think donkey.
Thank you.
I think Mel does.
The aim was... One child of some friends of mine wanted to have a donkey ride and then sort of was a bit nervous of the donkey ride and I said, well, I'd have a donkey ride to sort of demonstrate that it was, you know, fine and safe.
Oh, so it was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was an absolute disaster. A very, very sad day.
Did you have to pay for the ride?
I think so, yeah.
Do you remember roughly what that was?
I think roughly about £1,000. Might have been less than £1,000. Certainly not a million.
Would it be
not
fair
a
to
million
say-
pounds. And it wasn't like 4p.
David, how did Sid rescue you?
She had a geographical advantage on the donkey because I don't think I'm being rude to Sid to say that she probably couldn't have matched this crazed beast for speed. She was over where the donkey was headed, sort of near there, and was able to intercept and grab the bit of string that's attached to a donkey's face.
It's like having Zara Phillips with us, isn't it? Yeah. It really is.
I've literally never seen a donkey in your life.
Right, what about Mel then?
Just remind us again of your story.
This is Sid.
Yeah?
And we once posed as members of an orchestra to meet our idol.
Right.
Who's the idol, just for fun?
Leslie Judd, the ex-Blue Peter presenter.
You don't need to tell me who Leslie Judd is.
So does Leslie Judd also play in an orchestra?
Not that I know of.
What was she doing there?
What was she
then?
doing there?
She was hosting the event.
Where was it?
It was in Oxford Town Hall.
And you were how old?
16.
You say you posed as orchestra members. How did you go and buy an instrument?
We borrowed from a friend, funnily enough, a cello case.
Well, that's all you'd need, because one of you gets in it.
Yeah.
So hang on, when you were 16, I'm just thinking this through. Leslie Judd, as we all know, is a Blue Peter presenter back in the glorious heyday
Fab Four.
of
The Fab
Blue
Four.
Peter. Exactly.
Noakes, Purvis, Singleton, Judd.
When
Yeah.
grown-ups used to...
Yeah.
When grown-ups used to host
Exactly.
Blue Peter.
Yeah.
Great times.
Did it work?
We got past security.
I'm not sure about this security business, to be honest with you. I can imagine a meeting.
Town Hall.
Oxford Town Hall, where they're going, here we go on next week. Leslie Judd is hosting an orchestra. We're going to need some security.
Did she sign anything for you?
She did, yep. I had a Blue Peter annual. Yeah. I think Leslie was in circus gear on the front.
I've got that one.
Oh, that's...
Yes.
All right, we need an answer, so what are you going to say?
I think it's Chris.
You think Chris
Because
bit a lady?
Sid, more importantly,
Yeah.
looks like she could be a very good dentist.
No, you see, I have to disagree. I disagree. If we're going by looks alone, I'd say she's more likely to have manhandled a donkey. Well, we can't just go by looks, can we?
I think she looks like a really lovely friend of Mel's.
We need an answer, so...
Alex thinks it's Chris. Are you sticking with that?
I'm sticking 100%.
And Lee, presumably, you think me?
Despite my real gut reaction that it's David, I would say, of the two, we will go with Mel.
Ah.
Or will we go with Chris?
Split the difference. Me!
Go on, let's say Mel.
You're saying Mel. OK, so, Sid, would you like to reveal your true identity?
My name is Sid, and Mel and I posed as members of an orchestra in order to meet our idol.
Yes, Sid and Mel did once pose as members of an orchestra in order to get backstage and meet Leslie Judd. Thank you very much, Sid.
I once had a snog with one of the people here on Would I Lie to You Tonight.
Whoa! One of us 6. Yeah, 6. You...
Hang on a minute, I'm here as well.
Yeah, 6.
It could have been me.
She didn't snog herself.
That's true, that's true. Oh, God. Oh, my word. I think my poor grasp of mathematics has never been more cruelly exposed.
So one of us 6 people... Why am I saying one of us 6? I know it wasn't me. One of them 5. Was it you?
It's true.
No, I'm Spartacus.
You see, I definitely...
Very awkward if all 6 of us have snogged her.
But she could only remember one.
If it's true, will the person remember, or is it like a drunken thing, or...?
I don't know if they will remember.
This is getting awkward. If this is true, this could be very awkward.
I don't know.
How many years ago?
I think it was in 98, so 15 years ago.
Just a snog.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be David at university, isn't it?
Why, did they go to university together?
They're both Cambridge, aren't they?
We did.
Yes.
And were you in the same...
No,
The plot thickens.
David is quite a lot younger than me, so...
But were you still hanging around the university?
trying to prey on freshers in Freshers Week. What you haven't said yet, Mel, is you haven't really painted a lovely picture for us of the circumstances, where you were.
Yep.
Just talk us through that.
It was a works do.
Not me. I've never worked in my life.
It was a works do, and everyone had been working very, very hard. It was a long series, and it was the end of term party.
Stop
end of
looking
series
at me,
party.
Mel.
What was the series?
It was the England rugby team 2000.
Was it a test series?
It was a show back in the late 90s.
Was it Late Lunch?
It was called Late Lunch.
So the show you did Late Lunch, was the person you kissed a guest on the show, or were they a regular on it, or...?
No, we were colleagues.
This is a totally new type of round.
This is...
You stop trying to work out whether it's true or not, just who it
was.
Yeah. Who was it?
Wait, who was it that you kissed? Was it Rob? Please tell me when you kissed him he didn't do that. Who was it that you kissed?
Dermot. It was Dermot.
Dermot?
It was Dermot.
Wow. This is a weird one now, because if it's not true, poor Dermot now has got to answer all these questions.
I don't think you're allowed to question other panellists.
Oh, well, this is
not his card.
No, we're in new territory. This has never happened before.
Rob?
My proclamation is thus. You can quiz O'Leary. However, he doesn't have to answer unless he so chooses.
To be fair, that's true with everyone. We're going to be legally required to speak. If you want to make people talk when they don't want to, you have to waterboard them.
I'm happy to waterboard him if you want to...
Mel, what was Dermot doing in this show?
Dermot was the guy responsible for getting the audience in.
Has Dermot said if he remembers this?
Dermot, do you remember this?
That would scupper my team's chance. I can't answer that.
Yeah, that's handy. You mean no? So you were working on...
I was working on London.
What was your position?
I was sort of audience researcher, so...
Oh, that's handy. Just what she just said, yeah? In 1998, were you in a relationship, or is it OK to push you on this?
I'm not sure.
You said at the time, Dermot, that you weren't in a relationship.
Oh, well, he can't have been then.
Yeah.
OK.
So what are you going to say then, Lee? What are you thinking?
That's an interesting one, this, isn't it? What do you think?
It feels
plausible.
Do you think?
It's plausible.
It is plausible.
Definitely plausible.
I just think O'Leary's been too kind of reticent on the details and the facts.
Yeah, but he could be awkward because he doesn't remember, or he remembers very well and he's trying to play for his team.
Gentleman doesn't tell.
I think it's a lie.
You think it's a lie?
Based on O'Leary.
Matt, what are you thinking on this?
I'm not sure. I don't think the dates fit.
Lie.
Well, go with lie then.
You're saying it's a lie?
I think it might be true, but I'm going with my team and saying lie.
Mel, it was a wonderful, wonderful tale. Was it true, or were you telling a lie?
Well, Rob, gents, Dermot, I was telling the truth.
Dermot, everything that Mel said was true.
100% bona fide.
Yes, it's true. Mel did have a snog with Dermot O'Leary. So please welcome this week's special guest, Shayen. So, we will begin with Dermot. Dermot, what is Shayen to you?
This is Shayen, and I asked Shayen out 156 times.
Mel, how do you know Shayen?
This is Shayen. When we were kids, I cut her hair to plump up the stuffing in my teddy bear.
There we are. Finally, David Mitchell.
I want that to be true. I want that to be
that's
true.
amazing.
How do you know Shayen, David?
This is Shayen. She is the swimming pool lifeguard who talked me into letting go of the diving board I was clinging to after I panicked mid-boing.
So, there we have it. Is it Dermot's romance rejector, Mel's teddy stuffing supplier, or David's diving board saviour? Lee, where do you want to start?
Wow, where do we start with that one? Dermot, when was this?
I'd have been probably 14, and Shayen was a year younger than me.
How did you do it? Was it all face-to-face?
Yep.
As opposed to what?
We went to...
He was 14?
sorry.
Do you know, before... it was all different. In the old days, what we used to do was just press our faces against the bathroom window and shout.
Dermot, just to be clear, how many times did you ask her out?
156.
In how many sittings?
Probably over the course of about 18 months.
18 months.
Why did you count them?
Yeah.
Because...
It takes 156 times for him to know she's not interested.
After a while, it became like almost like a rite of passage. Shayen lived in a different village to the village I grew up in.
Which village was this?
I grew up in a village called Markstay, and Shayen lived in Great Tay. Normally...
Where was this? Mordor?
and Shayen went to the same youth club as me.
Youth club? Let's get him more rock and roll, this story.
Shayen was the only girl in the village who had black hair, and...
Have you looked to your left? At least made this realistic.
She had black hair. Jet black hair, all in kind of a lovely sort of 80s Madonna-style quiff.
So the first time you asked her out, she said no. How long did you leave it till the second time?
The next week.
So it's every week you were doing it?
Yeah.
Every week, 156 weeks, 18 months.
Twice
That
a
adds
week.
up.
Sometimes twice a week.
Rob's thinking it does, but it doesn't.
Sometimes like twice a week, sometimes twice in the same night. Oh, go on, go ahead.
So when it got to 100, did you not think, probably not going to happen?
Thought I'm still in. Keep batting.
Lee, who else would you like to quiz?
Who should we go with next?
Mel.
OK, so how old were you?
When the haircutting happened.
Yes, obviously, I don't mean...
Oh, sorry.
No, how old were you on your 12th birthday?
So, Shaylene's older sister, Charlotte, is a good friend of mine.
Shayen and Charlotte?
Yes, Shayen and Charlotte.
Who was her dad? Sean Connery?
Shayen and Charlotte came over to ours to do a sleepover. We had a bunk bed, and I wanted her to sleep on the top bunk.
Yeah, this is the bit, you see.
Because we had a game in our house whereby if you slept on the top bunk, you had to drape your hair over the side of the
like
bunk.
Rapunzel.
I'll tell you what, Dermot, I'm glad you didn't go back to hers now. He says, no problem, hers too short. She went, don't worry, use something else. Go on.
I had a secret plan with Shayen. I wanted her to fall asleep on the top bunk so that I could cut her beautiful hair.
Now-
I didn't cut that much.
Right. How much did you cut? That's
2
a
inches.
lot of hair.
So having cut this hair off,
Yes.
what did you do with it?
So I had this lovely, beloved teddy bear patch and had a bit of a hole in it.
What?
I remember exactly where.
Where?
Shoulder down to mid-arm.
How did the hole start? Did you make the hole?
Just love. Just love.
Is that what you call love? Ripping off a man's arm?
Dermot.
Lee, what about David?
David, remind us again of this utter truth.
Shayen is the swimming pool lifeguard who
yeah.
talked me down when I was clasping onto a diving board.
Were you actually hanging off it?
Yeah, I had like my arms around it like that, and it was at head height.
But how did you get to that position?
I was considering jumping off the diving board, and I remained indecisive too long in the process.
And at the last minute you went but panicked and stopped.
Exactly.
And of course,
I sort of
you weren't used
slid off it and grabbed it and then was left there dangling.
And had you gone to the pool specifically to dive, or had you gone with a bunch of mates and you were larking around, bombing, heavy petting, all the things that we're not supposed to do, but if I know you, the rebel that you are, you would have been doing them.
It was one of my regular late-night music parties in the municipal baths.
How old were you?
It was recently.
How recently?
It was just about an hour ago. No, it was last autumn.
I'd have thought if David Mitchell had been hanging off a diving board, someone would have taken a photo and tweeted that, wouldn't they?
I don't think you're allowed to have your mobile phones in swimming pools.
Come the advent of the aquaphone, my water sports days are over.
Have you ever dived in off a diving board headfirst at that point?
No, and I certainly wasn't planning on doing this head first.
Oh, you were going to go feet first?
Absolutely.
And so you jumped... You started...
I was thinking of this programme, and I thought, well, I can lose up to about there and it'll be fine. They could prop the remnant on a bar stool, and I can still do the job. So I thought, I'll go in with the non-panel show end first.
As you've leapt off, at that point you think, I'm going in, change your mind, spin in the air, grab the board and land and just do that. Because I think that's a 10. I think it's a 10.
It was the moment of indecision
that made you stumble.
Changed how I mean, I can't entirely...
Did you...
It's bizarre, considering it happened to me, that I can't entirely visualise it.
What are you thinking, Lee?
I want to know exactly how Shayen talked down David.
She said, are you all right? Which, wasn't the best question in the world, but...
She's clearly trained.
Yes.
What did you say?
I think I said something. Oh, yeah, sorry, I slipped.
Sorry, I slipped. 1 minute you're panicking, and sorry, I slipped. Forgive me.
She stood at the side.
Even in near-death situations, you're middle class. Sorry, I slipped, my dear.
I didn't say.
Did you fetch my cravat? It appears to have wafted away.
I didn't say sorry. I slipped in a suave tone of voice. But I did say sorry because it's very deeply ingrained in me to apologise at almost any occasion.
So how did you say it then? If you didn't say it in a suave
Sorry,
way?
I slipped. Sorry, I slipped.
Like that. So you were quite panicked.
I was quite panicked.
What happened then? What did she say?
She said, "It's all right. Stay calm. Too late." I screamed.
Where is she? Is she on the floor? Is she on up top?
She has got on the diving board.
What, she's
Oh,
up
give
there
it a
with
little
you?
wobble, yeah? She's giving it a little wobble.
She's not got to the boingy end. She's
Do you mind if I have a little skip whilst we're doing this?
It was only after a few minutes had passed that she threatened to boing me off.
Wow! I'll tell you what, these municipal swimming pools. Do you know what? I would say that constitutes heavy petting.
So you were hanging on for a few minutes?
No, not really for a few. I think for about 4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes? What, the eagle-eyed lifeguard?
She just...
Oh, I wish I could use me whistle. How did she make you go from I don't want to let go to let go? What kind of words did she use?
It's OK, just drop in. I promise you won't
Just
hit
drop
the bottom.
in! I'm around 3 o'clock till 6 on Thursday.
She just
Do you
said,
have Earl Grey ice cream?
feel free to drop in anytime you like.
So go on. Yeah, so go on. So you're hanging up. What did she say to make you let go?
I think it's fine. You won't hurt yourself. She said, this happens a lot. If you'd come in here half an hour earlier, there'd been 3 of you on 3 of the boards. You've only just cleared the last backlog.
OK, so Lee, we need an answer. Is Shayen Dermot's romance rejecter, Mel's teddy stuffing supplier, or David's diving board saviour? What do you think?
David had to hang on to something for 4 or 5 minutes.
That's a long. That's a long time
to hang
on.
Time.
You couldn't hang on that long.
Dermot said she had black hair.
156.
There's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot, and it's a very specific number.
I think Mel. It's got to be Mel.
Mel had emotion and feeling.
You say Mel?
I would go Mel.
I'll go with the team and say Mel.
You're all in agreement. OK. Shayen, please reveal your true identity.
Hi, I'm Shayen, and Dermot asked me out 156
Thank you, Shayen. Thank you very much.
I once licked David Bowie's cake just to be close to him.
David.
Now, I would have thought that was not a good way of being close to him, but that was a way of being forcibly removed from his presence. So how did licking his cake bring you close to him?
Right, so, it was the 1980s. I believe it was the year of the Glass Spider tour.
Yeah.
I was working as a waitress.
In a cocktail
bar. No.
Not a Bowie song.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure. I'm no expert, but that's not one of his.
That much is true.
Right.
Thank you. And
so, Mel, if you were working as a waitress...
It wasn't a cocktail bar, it was a cappuccino bar, because it was the 80s. So I was working as a waitress in a cappuccino bar.
Hang on, was cappuccino popular in the 80s? Let's get this...
Yeah, they came in the 80s, didn't they?
They arrived in Port Talbot a week last Thursday.
Anyway, I'm not quite good-looking enough / slim enough to be serving at tables.
Oh, right.
So
did they tell you this? Did they say, I'm sorry, love, I'm sorry.
No.
I can't have you serving the customers, I'm sorry.
We're going to have to hide you round the back making the froth.
No, pretty much. I was a washer-upper in the aforementioned cappuccino bar. Now, massive excitement one day. I'm in the back doing the washing up. The word is spreading like wildfire. Bowie's in, Bowie's in, Bowie's in. I saw him in profile, sitting
How did you see him from
at
the
the
kitchen?
cappuccino bar because I could look through the door.
You were allowed.
Occasionally.
And all the customers went. And she was grabbed back in again, a maniacal.
Get back in the chocolate sprinkles pit.
So, Bowie had ordered, let's imagine, I think it was something like a sort of a hot chocolate fudge slice, please, or something like that.
Can we get on to the licking?
Let's get on to the licking.
It's like Friday night in my house.
I thought, I'm not going to get to say hello to him because I'm not allowed to go out front and serve the man. So what can I do just to feel that I have entered him in some way? I mean, just...
Yes, that some of your DNA
I'm part
has
of him.
been ingested by the great man.
Well, what sort of lick? With bearing in mind that this is very much a family show, do the lick for us now.
Plate, slice, it would have been... I'll just try and get back in the zone. Hang on. It would have just been a...
So it's just a little lick. That's not what I imagined, actually. I thought you would go up and down it a couple of times.
No.
And it's
just a little, polite
just
lick.
a touch.
It was full of homage and reverence for the great man. And then, obviously, it went out and I never saw him again.
It wasn't long after that he was hospitalised. All right, David, what are you thinking? Could this be true?
Well, it could be true, but...
you know, she started off as a waitress, then she became, you know...
A washer-upper.
A washer-upper.
Yes. I think it sounds so absurd and she's been so random that I think there's an element of truth to it, personally.
So what are you going to say, David? Is it truth or is it a lie?
Well, one or the other. I think on balance it's a lie.
You're going to say lie. So, Mel, licking David Bowie's cake, is it true or was it a lie?
It is a great fat true.
Yes, it's true. Mel did lick David Bowie's cake so she could feel closer to him.
I recently went to extreme lengths to deliver a sample to the vets.
David's team.
A sample of what?
A sample of poo.
Your own or an animal's?
I am not an animal. I would have gone to the doctor.
Though in many ways, these days, it's easier to see the vet than it is to see the doctor. So, in an emergency, I would go to the vet. And also, in my experience, vets tend to like their patients, which doctors don't always.
Good tip. I know for next time.
So, what animal?
My dog.
Oh, why do you have to send
The dog wasn't very well.
Why didn't you take the dog to the vet? Did you phone the vet? Why did the vet ask for a sample?
Well, first of all, pick a question, because you've asked 3 there.
Why did you take a sample and not the dog?
Because they needed to send the poo away for testing, and that's easier if it is outside of the dog.
But what were the extreme measures that you had to take?
So because it was during lockdown, we couldn't go in for an appointment. So we had to sort of drop off the sample.
Right.
So they suggested I use a Tupperware from home.
Oh, that's quite a large item to fill.
It was 3 days I needed to collect.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So where are you storing it in the meantime?
In the fridge.
Fridge.
Oh.
You know how hard it is to find one that has a lid that matches perfectly?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So the only one that we had writing on from a previous occupant of the tub, and it said, chicken casserole for Sarah.
Oh!
Because it was lockdown and we didn't want to go when there were people around, instead we took it through the night, and we didn't realise that there would be a big fence and a locked gate. So we had to throw it over a fence.
Unfortunately, it landed in the next door's garden and her name was Sarah. Now, this led to an unfortunate mix-up.
Well, what are you thinking? You think it's preposterous, I can tell.
Totally preposterous, from start to finish. And I love this person. I'm sorry to think that she's...
Sorry to think that she could behave like this.
Yeah. So I know she didn't.
OK.
So I know she didn't.
Lou?
I don't like to look at lovely Sarah Millican in the face and say liar, but I'm going to.
I think once somebody claims to store poo in the fridge, you can say anything to them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
OK, I think we think it's a lie. We think it's a bit too far-fetched.
You're unanimous on that. So, Sarah, was it true or was it a lie?
It is true.
It's true. Sarah did go to extreme lengths to deliver a sample to the vets. So please welcome this week's special guest, Keith. So, Bob, first of all. Bob, what is Keith to you?
This is Keith. He's my oldest friend, and when we were at school together, we hid a dictaphone in the classroom ceiling to confuse our teacher.
David Harewood?
This is my old teacher, Keith. I once had to claim I wasn't me when I met him in a cafe, as I was in character preparing for Homeland.
And finally, Lee, your relationship with Keith.
This is Keith, and his hawk... Yes. Yes, I'll admit, David, it's a difficult start. Well, go with it. Yeah. This is Keith, and his hawk was supposed to land on my arm at a village fete, but instead stole the wig from the man next to me and flew off into a tree.
So there we are. It's Bob's classroom prankster, it's David's blanked buddy, or it's Lee's hawk handler. David's team, where do you start?
So, yes, David, he was a teacher at your school?
Very briefly.
What, a whole lesson?
I mean, I don't know if... I mean, I would see him.
But he didn't teach you?
No, not teach me.
He was someone who hung around a school, and he was... charitably, you assumed he was a teacher.
But if he was at the school a short period of time, how did you even recognise him in the cafe?
Oh, I knew it was him. He walked into the cafe and he said, "Hi, David," and basically I blanked him. It was literally the month before I went to America when I was doing Homeland, and I'd just been to see my dialect coach. He basically said I have to stay in my American voice. So...
Could you not have explained that to him in your American voice? I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm doing a wall here.
I don't think it was ever as good as that, John, to be fair.
I basically just had to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm remembering you now. Do the voice a bit more
I
straight.
said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Ooh, that did weird things to me.
So your dialect coach said, you're in this role, you need to stay in this character.
Yeah.
Now the lesson's over, let's go to a very public place.
Yeah.
We're likely to encounter several people.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to stay in that voice. You have to have the confidence to stay in your voice.
Why can't you just, like, turn it on like an actor?
Oh, that's a cheap shot, Sarah.
I have to say, I did phone him up afterwards and apologise.
So you had his number?
You stayed in touch with the teacher you barely remember.
Would it be fair to say the hawk's looking a bit more plausible?
So, David, who would you like to question next?
Bob, remind us of your allegation.
When we were at school together, we hid a dictaphone machine in the ceiling tiles to interrupt the lesson.
So not to record, but to play stuff?
Yeah.
What sort of stuff?
Well, it was important to keep a gap at the beginning, so we let it run for about 15 minutes. And then there was the noise of a fly. For a brief period, then another period, to confuse the teacher.
Where would you get the noise from the fly? You'd make the noise.
We'd make the noise ourselves,
Let's hear
I'm
your
not paying
fly
for no
noise.
fly to do it.
Let's hear your fly.
You know,
It does sound like a fly.
Can I hear your bee?
We didn't do a bee.
Do you know how to do a bee? Just like that fly.
Oh, no, it's more wholesome if it's a bee, isn't it?
Show me the difference, David.
Well, I don't know, I'm not...
Do it.
I'd say, OK, a bee would be a sort of a foot...
No, that's a bumblebee.
A fly is a...
Very good. That's good. Very good. Do you see the way he just slipped straight in and out of character?
So yes, there was silence,
Yeah.
Then a little bit of fly, silence, a little bit of fly, and then quite loudly, but not to frighten anyone, the word wolf. Then more silence. A bit more silence. Then Speedway Stadium.
Like that. Speedway Stadium.
Do you know, the idea was just to say kind of random things. He was a really nice teacher called Bill Whitlingham.
How did Bill Whitlingham react to these random sounds?
Well, Mr. Whitlingham left the room and said, "Can you sort this out by the time I've gone back?" Can you sort whatever it is that's going on? And there was a cupboard in the corner where, interesting, it had like exercise books in it, pens and that, but it also had, in a little cage, a hand lion, which is a robotic, it's a battery-operated thing.
What? Are you just saying any words that come into your head? In any order?
It's a hand lion, and if
hand lion.
It's a robotic, animatronic hand lion. Yeah. And if you'd been particularly good, he would put it on your hand and set it to lick it. Lick it. If you'd been particularly...
Was this like a clockwork lion?
No, it was remote control.
It was remote control?
Remote control. He had the controller in his desk, and he said,
But the actual hand lion...
Get out the hand lion, and you'll get a lick. And if you'd been bad, you put him on your hand and you strike. You'd strike at your hand.
So the hand lion had two settings. It could lick or it could strike.
Yes, good boy, bad boy.
Right, very
good
sensible.
boy, bad boy. Now, the only problem with it, of course, was...
What, this story?
The only problem was, of course, if the batteries got low, it would get constipated. No, anyway, but in this cupboard, so we got up on the cupboard.
You climb onto the cupboard that the hand lion is housed in.
Probably asleep.
Right, you reach up onto the ceiling tile.
Take out the dictaphone.
Switch it off.
Yep.
Mr. Whitlingham comes back in.
Yes.
What happens?
He's nervously awaiting another, edict from above.
Yeah.
Doesn't come, we carry on with the lesson. British government and politics it was.
So there's a lesson called British government and politics?
Yeah.
Whole year on that?
2 years, it was A-level.
For these sixth formers...
Yes.
A hand lion... a hand lion that can either lick or strike was what was used to express praise or the opposite to these 17 or 18-year-old students.
And it was very effective.
All right. Would you like to move on to the final claim? So, Lee, tell the story about Keith.
I was at Village Fete, and...
Why were you at a Village Fete?
I was helping out.
What village?
Thames Ditton.
Why were you helping out at Thames Ditton Fete?
Because I don't live too far away from there, and they asked me to help out, and I did a few little things, like I did a bit of tombola, a bit of announcing. Then I went over to judge the pig racing. The usual things you do at a fete, you know.
The pig racing?
Yeah. I don't know why I judged it, because surely first past the post, but...
Well, no,
I was doing a case of a dead heat.
And what happened with the hawk and Keith and the wig?
One of the things I had to do was to volunteer to stand there and learn. He had the little headpiece on where he'd teach the crowd basic falconry, I believe we call it. I stick the glove on and then hold this little thing. I don't know what it was, but I'm doing this.
A small morsel of meat.
Thank God you've been to one, because I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm holding a small morsel of meat. Then what happens? And then...
then the swan comes down.
The swan came down. So the hawk comes over, right? It comes over. There's a person missing from this story, and it's the mayor, right? The local mayor. I can't say it in I always struggle.
Mayor.
The mayor, right?
So
mayor
you're
of
standing
London.
next to a horse.
Yeah, so the local... So the mayor is doing his bit, but the mayor has got a wig on, right? The hawk flies over to go and land on my hand, but he lands on the mayor's head, and so he gets caught up in his what should we call them? Talons. He gets caught up in the talons, and then in the sort of panic, the bird and he can't release this wig, and he flies off. And he goes into the tree. I said, why didn't he go for the meat? And he said, I genuinely think the gold chain caught his eye. There was a bit of confusion for a second, and he just did a bit of an emergency landing on a mayor's wig at Thames Ditton Fete. What's there not to believe?
At that point, did you cry, oh no, the mayor's hers over there?
So David's team is Keith, Bob's classroom prankster, David's blanked buddy, or Lee's hawk handler.
I was believing Bob until the fact that he was 18 and the hand lion. I'm leaning towards David.
I think I'm leaning towards David.
I think it's Bob, and I think he panicked because he knew we were onto him, so he went on a ridiculous riff about a hand lion to throw us off the scent. I'll go Bob, but I've been wrong before.
Sarah?
I'm gonna go David.
We'll go David.
You're saying David? Keith, please reveal your true identity.
My name's Keith, and Bob and I recorded voices and hid the dictaphones in the ceiling.
Yes. Keith is Bob's classroom prankster.
I would never have believed all that stuff about a hand line was completely true.
Thanks very much, Keith.
Thank you.
I once ruined a christening party when I was overheard calling the baby ugly on a baby monitor.
David.
So the baby monitor, presumably, is by the baby.
Yes.
So most of the party is in, let's call it room A.
Okay.
And the baby...
How big is your house?
Is...
Room Z.
We'd never speak of room Z. And the baby is in room B, very appropriately in room B.
B for baby, yes.
So you're looking over the baby
Yes.
on your own?
No, a few of us had gone into, you're supposed to sort of
You're
go in
supposed to
and,
give a shit,
and have
aren't
it,
you?
yeah. Everybody was looking at it and saying how lovely it was, and it just, looked like a Winston Churchill, like they all do when they're born, just little and sort of fat. So I just,
What did you
spoke up.
say?
I just said, wasn't very pretty.
What sort of monitor was it, Sarah? Was it an audio monitor? Because we recently invested in a video and audio monitor, and if there are any young parents like myself out there, then then I would recommend getting the video because you can see them as well. It's lovely.
No, nobody's got
Isn't that a lovely
problem.
image, Rob's wife, putting him in the cot like that?
It's just, it gives her peace of mind. She knows I'm safe.
I went on holiday with a couple, and they had a walkie-talkie on the dinner table in the evening, and they said, I said, what is that? They said, we use this as a baby monitor because they've got a much better range
But don't the
than a
babies have
baby
to,
monitor.
wouldn't the baby have to press it down to talk into it?
Yeah, it sort of went, over.
David, what's it going to be, truth or lie?
I would say that saying that basically what you were saying is, babies all look the same to me, they look sort of baby-like, I don't find them that pretty.
Yes.
That's not that rude a thing to say. Saying specifically that baby is hideous, what with its third eye and everything, that's different.
That wouldn't have been shocking because everybody else would have noticed the third eye as well.
Yeah, but they might have
presumably.
tried to be nice about it and say, what a lovely extra feature. Frank?
Well, I sort of believe it.
Yeah, no, it's easily done.
I think we think it's true then.
You think it's true?
Yeah.
Sarah, were you telling the truth?
It is a lie. I once wet myself in a car and then blamed it on my friend's dog.
David.
Right. I mean, I'm willing to believe it. I'll say that at this point. Why did you wet yourself in a car?
Because I needed a wee in a car.
I've needed a wee in a car, but I've never weed in a car.
I was once stuck in a very long line of traffic trying to get onto the Severn Bridge on the M4, and I let myself go in a 1-litre bottle of Volvic.
I did that on the motorway, and my problem was I was really desperate, and I had a bottle of water, and I had to drink the water. My body was saying, no more water. So it was a terrible cyclical thing. No sooner I got it down, it was out again. I didn't want to draw attention to myself, because people might pull up either side, and I'd clearly, by my facial expression, be urinating at that.
Oh, please show us that face.
So, I mean, this is obviously just for everyone but me, a commonplace occurrence.
Yes.
I don't, you know, basically, lavatories are just for me.
What a great name for your autobiography.
Yeah. Who did you blame the dog to, if you see what I mean?
To the mechanic when I took it in for a valet.
So whose car was it?
My car.
Your car? You peed in the car?
Yeah.
Were you in a... Is there a good reason for that? Were you in a traffic jam after a large bottle of Evian?
I was, well, just tap water, probably.
I've never been in a car with a tap, so, you know...
It's a very posh car.
All right.
Yeah, I was stuck in it.
It's so posh, it's plumbed in. Literally got gangs of people following it with pipes.
Well, to be fair, if it was plumbed in, I'd have probably had a toilet in there as well, wouldn't I?
I've never done this, but is it conceivable... Because as a woman, you don't really have much control over where it's going. But as a man, is it conceivable you could aim it out of the window?
You could, but the speed you were going at would mean it all came straight back into you. So when you got to this mechanic, what did you say? I mean, was the stain so clearly visible?
No, it had sunk right in.
Was he a bit confused that the dog was driving?
No, because it wasn't on the driver's seat.
You changed seats for Halloween.
That is dangerous. You change seat in a traffic jam where you're in control of the vehicle.
You can't buy class, can you?
If I looked in a rear-view mirror, I'd think that passenger looks very, very content considering there's no one driving.
So what are you thinking, David?
What do you think, Mary?
I just think Sarah is the kind of strong, independent woman who would step out of her car, stride to the hard shoulder, and say, just go, and then do it.
Yeah. Bill, do you believe it?
Yes, I think it happened.
Well, you think it's true and you think it's a lie. So I have to decide, which I hate. I think it's true.
You think it's true?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, Sarah, truth or lie?
It is, true.
Well done, David.
You listen to us in future.
Goodness me.
I was stuck in traffic for 2.5 hours. I was in absolute agony and thought it was the only way out, and it was either that or rupture something, so I just moved across, stripped, weighed, moved across, pulled back up, champion.
Well, there we are. And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised on tonight's show...
I once spent an entire day on the Asda shuttle bus just to have a day out.
Lee, what do you think?
How long did you spend on the Asda shuttle bus?
3 hours.
Is that a day out?
Well, yeah, I slept late.
So you spent 3 hours on the Asda shuttle bus, on your own?
Yes. Well, no, there was other passengers, but I wasn't with anybody else.
You were...
All life is there on the Asda shuttle bus.
Well, no,
you just
but
sit there and watch the world
No, it's not
get
all-
on with their shopping.
It's not all like, but you wouldn't be on it, would you?
No, I don't.
Sarah, Ronnie.
Oh, sorry.
I think Ronnie wouldn't be on it before David wouldn't be on it.
Oh, no.
Can I just say, I'd be on it. Happily.
You'd be driving it.
I'd be. You should be on the Asda shuttle bus because you're quite small and every little helps.
Tesco, yes. I like those adverts for Sainsbury's. There's that guy with a really great voice who says, Sainsbury's, try something new today.
I'm the voice of Scottish laminate flooring.
Does all your flooring have to be laminated?
Oh no, I don't approve of it myself.
Which branch were you going to?
It was the Bolden Asda.
The what?
Bolden. We went from Asda all around all the estates locally.
In Bolden?
Yes.
Is that in Newcastle?
No, it's in South Tyneside.
That sounded like Newcastle to me.
Because you're racist.
Did you get on the bus thinking you were going to go shopping and then thought, this is fun, I'll stay on it? Or did you plan to get on the bus as a jaunt?
I got on because I thought it would take me home, but it didn't go anywhere near my house, so I just stayed on. And then got back off at Asda.
And
so it wasn't
so you got on thinking it would take you home. Yes. It does one full revolution back at Asda, and you think, I'll try again, it might stop at my house this time. You never know. The second time round, he might just go via my house.
But there must be quite a lot of old people who do that to keep warm and for something to do. I mean, like, how long do you...
I'm 34, love.
All right, so what are you thinking, Lee? Which way are you leaning?
Julian?
I've no idea on this one. I've changed my mind. I think it's true now.
What made you change your mind?
The story of her trying to get home, that part of it.
See, that was the bit that made me think she wasn't turned to it, because...
Oh, we're so different.
I know. Hey, you say that. That'd be a great name for a double act for me and you. Chalk and cheese. Hello, I'm Chalk and this is cheese.
I'll phone my agent.
Oh, I don't know. Holly?
I think it's true.
Do you think it's true?
So what are you going to say, Lee?
Oh, go on then. I will say it's true.
You're saying it's true. OK. Sarah, truth or lie?
It is true.
All right, yes, it's true. Sarah did once spend an entire day on the Asda shuttle bus just to have a day out. There's always one slightly strange person on those buses, you know, that everyone's a bit afraid of. And in this case, it was Sarah.